Welcome to another edition of Holy Scriptures and Holy Places. Today we have come to Jaffa, an important station in the mission of St. Peter, as the Gospel begins to be preached to the nations unto the extremities of the earth. Let us read now the description in the Acts of the Apostles of a part of Peter's stay in Jaffa, the principal part. Peter went up to the roof to pray. He became hungry and wanted something to eat, and while it was being prepared, he fell into a trance. He saw the heaven opened and something like a large sheet coming down, being lowered to the ground by its four corners. In it were all kinds of four-footed creatures and reptiles and birds of the air. Then he heard a voice saying, "Get up, Peter, kill and eat." But Peter said, "By no means, Lord, for I have never eaten anything that is profane or unclean." The voice said to him again, a second time, "What God has made clean, you must not call profane." This happened 3 times. After the death of Stephen, the first martyr in the history of the Church, the preaching of the Gospel went out of Jerusalem. Philip preached the Gospel in Samaria, a little to the north, and then afterwards on the road going down to Gaza. However, the central vector of opening up the Gospel to the world would be westwards, towards Rome. Peter had left Jerusalem and gone to Lydda, and from there he had been called to come to Jaffa once Tabitha had died. After he had raised Tabitha from the dead, he would stay on in Jaffa for some more days in the house of Simon the tanner. And it was there that he had a vision that he did not understand. He was called to eat of unclean meat, meat he had never eaten, for he kept the commandments of God. While he was pondering this strange command, 3 men arrived at the door. This signifies a turning point in the history of the early community. Three men were at the door of the house of Simon looking for Peter, and when he went down to meet them, they told him that Cornelius, a Roman centurion in Caesarea, was calling for him to come to his house. Peter went hesitantly with these 3 men. This signifies an opening up of the preaching of the gospel to the Gentiles. And when he reached the house of Cornelius, still very hesitant, he observed the giving of the Holy Spirit to this house of Gentiles that prompted him to go in and baptize them. This is again a turning point in the life of the Church, the opening to the Gentiles. However, we note how hesitant Peter is. This hesitancy about preaching to the Gentiles must remind us of one of the great prophets of the Old Testament, Jonah. Jonah, the prophet in the Old Testament, had been called by God to go and preach to the people of Nineveh. Jonah was more than reluctant. The Ninevites were not only an enemy, but they would be the ones who would come and destroy Jonah's own homeland. Jonah ran away, trying to escape the voice of God. He came to Jaffa. In Jaffa, he got onto a boat to take him in the opposite direction from Nineveh, Nineveh to the east, Jonah was fleeing to the west. But Jonah would learn that even in the belly of a big fish, he could not make God's voice go away. Jonah would preach to the Ninevites, just as Peter would deal with his hesitancy and go in and baptize the household of Cornelius. Yes, Jonah learns, as Peter does, that God is impartial. He wants salvation for everyone. God makes no distinction between man and woman, Jew and Gentile, master and slave, friend and enemy. He seeks the salvation of all. Here in Jaffa, brothers and sisters, we can pray that we too might be impartial, praying for all our brothers and sisters wherever they might be, whoever they are, that God's salvation might reach them unto the extremities of the earth.